You know, I think talking about death can be very useful, but I think we do need to be very mindful about how we use language, because we often use language with a very negative connotation to death, a very avoidant. You know, we often talk about, you hear all the time people talking about fighting, you know, fighting their illness. And so we're sort of using this aggressive language often when we're dealing with disease or old age or, you know, whatever it is. So I think it's really important to be aware of, you know, even the, you know, saying what is a good death, or, you know, it's like, well, that's subjective anyway. It's such a, and so I think even though I believe talking about death is really, really important just to get the subject out there, because there is so much avoidance and denial around the topic. So I think we can raise it. But I think, you know, I think how we use language is really important in terms of our own experience of death and our own ability to support others who are experiencing dying and death. And I think language is a very powerful thing, and I think we don't have enough awareness of how easily we are influenced by the use of language when it comes to dying and death and aging and life and those sorts of things. It's, I mean, another thing, sorry, can I don't want to take up everybody's time, but another thing that has struck me is, you know, you often hear this language about dying with dignity. And I've thought a lot about this over the last little while. And particularly for people who, you know, maybe palliative as an example, and their independence is being diminished or stripped away from them. They're having to be taken care of by others. And this sense of what is dying with dignity. And I've thought about it in the context of, you know, a lot of people don't want to become a burden. You often hear that language. I don't want to be a burden when I'm dying. I want, you know, I don't want to be putting people out. I don't want, and I've often thought about birth and death, you know, and when a baby is born, they are 100% dependent on their parents. They vomit, they poo, you know, they do all of these things that when you are older, perhaps, or when you are sick, and those same things happen, they're suddenly regarded as negative. In babies, not so much. In babies, we will do what we need to do as parents. And yet often as we, you know, if we experience an illness or aging where these things start to diminish and we need others' attention and care, then suddenly there's no dignity to that. And so I think these are really important things to think about, because we're conditioned to see disease, illness, dying, death, aging in a particular way. And language often is the way that that's the most conditioned and influenced. Whereas for me, birth and death are equally as profound, and in fact can be equally as beautiful, you know, equally as meaningful and purposeful and deep experiences. So I think we have to be really conscious of how we ourselves engage with talking about, you know, dying and death.